Excellent. It's very nice to have you here today. This afternoon we have James Mott and Georgia Gourous. Georgia, I hope I pronounced that correctly, with us to share with us all of the offerings that are at CHES. Georgia, do you mind going on to the next slide? Probably while Georgia's doing that, we also have Daniela Draskovic, who may ask some questions at the end of this session. I would like to start with an acknowledgement of country, to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Wurundjeri language group in the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which MAV is located, and I believe CHES is located as well. We pay respect to elders past and present and to all First Nations people, recognising them as the original and ongoing custodians of this land, which was never ceded. We celebrate all First Nations people as the first mathematicians of these lands, as evidenced through navigational songlines and inventions such as the eel traps and boomerangs. And you can see an eel trap on this slide in front of us. We respect our First Nations people as the first teachers of mathematics, who continue to teach us by connecting with and respecting and caring for people and country. Thank you, Georgia. It is a pleasure to introduce both James and Georgia. James is well known to MAV and is a VC specialist maths teacher at the Centre for Higher Education. He is a TI national trainer, a VC AA assessor. He works as a part of the MAV Professional Learning Committee and has presented at many MAV events. He has presented at local and international conferences on using TI-CAS technology to support student learning. James is very passionate about sharing and learning pedagogical practices with fellow maths educators. And Georgia is also here. Georgia is a mathematics and algorithmics educator with experience across Victorian schools. She contributed to the VCE curriculum development, teacher training, and also has been a part of our MAV conferences. She is an accomplished author and she supports computational thinking through textbooks and resources. At CHES, she led innovative programs, including the development for a Year 10 electives and initiated the High Flex teaching and learning methodologies. Thank you very much to James and Georgia. I'm going to hand over to you to continue the presentation.
Thanks, Jennifer, for that introduction. So without any further...
Georgia, we have you on mute now, sorry.
It's unmuting me. How about that? Every time
That's
I press...
Thank you.
I must be pressing it in the wrong spot. You'll cut this bit out, right? Okay, so welcome to this presentation on the Centre for Higher Education Studies, which is CHES for short. There's a number of promotional videos that you can find on our website and lots of information there as well. Having any luck driving this PowerPoint, every time I press enter, it mutes me. Not sure why. Could be going on.
Georgia, maybe instead of pressing enter, just use the arrow keys as try that one instead.
I don't seem to have any. Okay. All right, let's try that. Okay, so start here again. Sorry for that, you'll have to cut it out. Okay, so welcome to this presentation on CHES, the Centre for Higher Education Studies. We have lots of multimedia resources that you can find online about our school, but this presentation today is just going to focus on a few key areas to do with our programs in specialist maths and algorithmics. So our school offers lots of HES subjects and 4 VCE subjects to government schools across Victoria. And here are some of our schools that we've connected with in the past, some of our students and some of our lessons as well. The centre opened in 2023 and it's in South Yarra, adjacent to Melbourne High School. It offers accelerated programs for high ability students from government secondary schools, both on-site and online. and its mission is to support students' academic, intellectual, social and emotional growth. And we're committed to offering enrichment programs as well to challenge students. And we allow access to first-year university studies for high ability students. We utilise a HyFlex learning model, which is a combination of online and in-person lessons, I guess a blended model. And we offer enrichment programs as well to all schools and students in the form of mentoring masterclasses and expert presentations. Our focus at CHES is to provide challenge for students, challenging our curriculum to enable them to activate their high order thinking skills and allow them to transfer their knowledge into applications, solving problems and thinking critically. We aim to create engaging tasks and goals, and we're trying to meet student needs. We regularly review students' progress and our programs to ensure that we do that. And another important aspect of our school is social interaction opportunities for students from across Victoria to get to know each other and make friendships before moving on to university. A typical kind of activities that we do for our lessons for the VCE program at CHES is we have a weekly 90-minute lesson that is a blended HyFlex lesson, and that is attended by students either in person or online. And we also combine that with an extra 1-hour tutorial lesson, which is also in person online. In addition to those regular weekly lessons, we also have a once per term face-to-face intensive day where we focus solely on the subjects and students do activities, and we also run an exam revision program for our VCE students. So what we're doing at the beginning of our live lessons is we're trying to follow these sort of pedagogical models where we activate students' prior knowledge, thinking with questions. We do the explicit teaching, showing examples. We allow students to practice individually and in groups, and we provide them with feedback on how they're going in the lesson and also reference their work as exemplars. In our tutorials, we kind of work on consolidating our prior learnings and prior lesson. Well, we run discussions, we run examples, and we have, similar to the live lesson, we do more examples, and the students also get the opportunity to do group work. The tutorials are also used to authenticate work for students doing assessment tasks as well. So with our asynchronous learning, that's not in the live lesson, we also provide materials for students to work on outside of the lessons in the form of learning task reflections, organising their cells to complete the work, and collaboration activities. Also, our once per term seminars that we run for the full day offer explicit teaching opportunities as well. Often we have guest speakers, and students also work on collaborative group work during those intensive days. So we follow the Victorian teaching and learning model for our elements of our teaching in terms of planning, enabling learning, explicit teaching, supporting application, attention, focus and regulation, looking at aids to improving knowledge and memory, retention and recall, and mastery and application. So I'll hand it over to James now to let you know about the VCE Specialist Maths program at CHES.
Thanks, Georgia. And for those who may not be familiar with specialist mathematics, it is the most advanced level mathematics in the VCE and is a nice extension of mathematical methods, which may be taken as a co-requisite. It's mainly used for exposure to mathematical structures, reasoning, and proof beyond what students may engage with in mathematical methods, and also expose them to some nice linkages between algebra and geometric reasoning there. For students who might be interested in STEM fields or even commerce fields, specialist mathematics does provide a nice mathematical foundation for those future studies. Georgia, could you please go to the next slide? As Georgia was referring to earlier about the live lesson structure and the VTLM 2.0, we structure our lessons very much like a traditional school would, in terms of we'd begin with some sort of warm up to activate prior knowledge or to act as a hook for the lesson. But in the HyFlex environment, we do modify our approach somewhat because we do have most of our learners online across Victoria, and we do have some face-to-face. So with that comes the need to modify our lessons slightly to engage more socialization in those environments. So like other teachers and other schools, we would engage in explicit teaching, where we'd model worked examples, pose questions, and provide students with opportunities to practice those learned skills. And the way in which we do this is to provide breakout rooms for students. So once we explicitly go through some worked examples and get students to also contribute to the explicit teaching there, students are often let into breakout rooms, into small groups of up to 6, but mainly sort of 4 to 5 students per breakout group, to have a bit of practice to engage in that mastery of the recently learned content. And we aim to facilitate discussion in those breakout groups, where teachers will pop in those breakout rooms to help facilitate discussion and to monitor student progress. And as George said, once we come back together, we do review the learning then, and also highlight great student work, and also addressing sort of issues or misconceptions that may have arisen from small group work there. Georgia, could you please go to the next slide? In terms of the seminar days, those intensive days, central to this is the social interaction and thinking about how do we engage students in collaboration in rich tasks that evoke those higher order thinking skills, and also to provide them some challenge. So typically in every single activity that we run, we will have students working in pairs or small groups to allow students to learn from each other, because we recognize that students are coming from all over Victoria. Often they may be the only student in their specialist math class, or maybe one of very few, less than a handful. So it's a great opportunity not only for them to learn and reflect on their learning, but also to learn from others and to gain those relationships with other students across the state with like-minded peers. So one nice activity we did recently for our Unit 1-2 day was the Would I Lie to activity, which is just to take on having students try to classify whether some statements are always true, sometimes true, or never true. And again, working in small groups to reason and justify about these statements, and then getting groups to swap and compare their conjectures. With the seminar day as well, in the morning, typically the students are quite fresh after traveling quite a distance. So we do get them working in small groups in the beginning. And then as the day goes on, we do try to vary up the activities and try to end the day with a bit of fun, be it some sort of maths relay or some sort of trivia, but still keeping on that focus of making sure that we are challenging them, engaging them in higher thinking skills as part of these more fun activities. Georgia, could you please go to the next slide? Thanks. And here's another sort of vignette from one of these seminar days that we ran. So with the Unit 3-4 students, recently we've been looking at kinematics. And so earlier in that week, we looked at some kinematics in the live lesson and some of the tutorials. And we ran a session on that seminar day where we got them to work in pairs to use some virtual manipulatives and getting them to create objects with some constraints to, again, further test their understanding of the content they've been engaging with recently. And importantly, also getting them to create their own questions to pose to others, because we don't want to limit them to just a nice closed question. We want them to create their own objects so that they can show off their creativity and their depth of understanding. Georgia, could you please go to the next slide? And that notion of creation also flows into our asynchronous work to provide them some challenge and some higher order thinking skills. So some typical questions and tasks we give students on a weekly basis are ones where they need to critique some sort of fallacy. So often we'll pose students with some fictitious work that somebody has done with a misconception in there. And students need to identify the mistake that's been made and to offer how the mistake can be rectified and provide the correct working out there. We typically call this an illegal maths task. And then also we provide students with an inverse problem whereby they need to create an object or objects that satisfy some given properties. And so again, these tasks offer students a real opportunity to show that their understanding at whatever level they want. So sometimes it might be a nice, simple expression or function or object that's provided, but sometimes you get a real depth of responses, which is also shared with the cohort anonymously. Georgia, could you please go to the next slide? Awesome, thank you. And we've also got some videos up online as well, highlighting and showcasing past students and their reflections and experiences at CHES for specialist mathematics. So if you are interested in that, the link is there for you to hear from the people who've actually been at the coalface and their experiences through the CHES program. And Georgia, I'll hand over to you for the algorithmic section.
Thanks, James. So algorithmics is a relatively new subject in the VCE curriculum. It is one of these HESS subjects, the one and only HESS subject, which means not only does it contribute to the ATAR score, it also gains credits for computer science units at many Victorian universities and at interstate universities too, with application of prior knowledge documentation. So algorithmics HES is an introduction to computer science, and in that way it provides a framework for solving real-world problems with computational methods, and it's essential for understanding the technology in our information society. We include subjects like algorithms used for Google Maps and AI algorithms used for facial recognition and other types of AI decision making. It provides a methodical approach to complex problem solving in STEM in many disciplines, including maths, engineering, computer science, of course, and many other disciplines as well. We focus on a systematic representation of information. In a similar way to mathematics, we look at multivariable information and we look at how we can process that information using algorithms. So it's not just about coding. We cover methods for analysing real-world problems, identifying key aspects for solution, and incorporating topics like artificial intelligence, statistical computation, and we consider also related ethical issues to using those kind of methods for making decisions. So we combine our theoretical topics with some introduction to high-level programming languages as well, but the focus is not on coding, it is rather on the thinking skills for that. So as James mentioned, in specialist maths running the lesson, the similar structure is used in algorithmics. We have a structure where we give the explicit teaching and we discuss the theory and give many examples on that. And then we give the students the opportunity to practice those new concepts that they've learned with those examples in the session. in groups of up to 6 students, and they work on many different kinds of problems together and collaborate to find solutions for the work presented, covering the theory in that lesson. So we have students that are attending both in person and online, and we're able to facilitate that with our HighFlex learning model. And students have embraced this model. It's now running for the 3rd year for algorithmic CHES, and students have been successful in using this teaching model. So we not only run our live lesson weekly, we also supplement our lesson with asynchronous materials, reading materials for theory, extra worksheets and examples. We often have a check for understanding quiz accompanying every single lesson unit, and most units also have homework tasks for us to get an understanding of how students are progressing, similar to regular face-to-face school. So we have regular check-in points there with students. We also provide our lesson recording and a lesson transcript to students so they can look over the material again in their own time and listen to examples again as they want to. We have the breakout activities, we keep them. In algorithmics, we keep them for the whole year, and we also have what's called a trophy room where we keep the exemplars for each session, and yeah, they get the glory of that. We also keep all our seminar materials in a central repository for students to refer back to, and refer back to all the collaborative activities that they did on the seminar day. So typically we will have readings to supplement the lesson with more examples than what we can supply in the lesson. So similar to the maths textbook, we also have extra materials there. So we also run seminar days for the algorithmic subject, and they are intensive days that we do various different activities. Usually the focus is on group work because all the students are together for that day in person. So it's a great opportunity to do group work, working on this particular example from the 2nd of May, just recently, working on solving random kind of little problems with algorithms in pseudocode. Also have lots of fun quizzes as well, and also guest speakers. We were lucky enough to have a guest speaker, a lecturer, senior lecturer from Melbourne University, informing the students about the algebra behind ChatGPT and how it's being used to make decisions and entertain and maybe even do your homework for you, which it shouldn't do, but there you go. And also we use the intensive sessions to also prepare students for assessments that are coming up. So students get a chance to practice doing questions that are going to come up in assessments later down the track. Some examples of the collaborative activities that students would do during a seminar. This is one from term 1, where students worked on a friendship recommender. Now, algorithmics uses graph networks a lot for modeling problems, which are a fundamental part of mathematics as well. So the graph model is ideal for certain kind of problem modeling, and students here have had to ask each other questions about their favorite hobbies, etc., to work out how they should model that information and make a friendship recommender by creating a graph network and perhaps assigning information on the edges of the graph to work out who should be friends with who. So this is a really nice icebreaker activity for students to do. As mentioned, one of our priorities is to get students to get to know each other, socialise together, form friendships before going on to university. You can find out more about algorithmics CHES on the website. We have videos here and also other information about the study for you to have a look at. So I'm going to hand it back over to James now. So, so let me just do that.
Thanks, Georgia. And so in addition to the VC subjects, CHES also offers the higher education subjects, as we've mentioned beforehand. And in particular, some of those popular ones are the mathematics ones. So this year, the University of Melbourne run their extension mathematics program for students in VC. And similarly, the Federation Uni also offer their course for extension mathematics. The University of Melbourne one is a high flex course where students attend it either in person or online. The Fed Uni course is entirely online. Some students who are taking specialist mathematics with us also do a CHES subject concurrently, and they are run after school hours. So students can attend school throughout the day and then attend these classes after school. And so they are probably the most popular CHES subjects that we offer. And I think their popularity is only going to grow in the future. I'd also say that they are run by the universities themselves. So students are taught by experts. And yeah, that's kind of about it with those subjects. Georgia, can you go to the next slide, please? And as we've seen before, if you want to know more information and particularly hear from students and their experiences, you can do so via those links on the website there. Georgia, can you please go to the next slide? And what we really love for you, if you're able to, is to complete our online CHES survey using the QR code there to provide us with some information to you and or your school about the programs that we offer. Georgia, do you want to add anything to that? Georgia, you're currently on mute.
Okay, I just wanted to add, I don't think we made it clear about where the lessons are running. Most of these, our VC lessons and our CHES lessons run after school, starting around 4:30 till for 90 minutes. Our tutorials for our VCE programs run during the day though, so we try to find study periods to accommodate students. The universities run on their own timetable, not on the VCE VCAR timetable, so there is different structure to the CHES subjects as well that students need to be aware of when they enroll for those subjects. I think that's all I wanted to say about that, really. But so shall we go to the next slide, James? What have we got on the next slide?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so the applications for 2026 are opening as of Monday, the 2nd of June, and you can find out all sorts of information about doing your online application on the CHES portal, including the HES and the VCE. We also offer Year 10 elective subjects as well that younger students might be interested in applying for as well. So if you want more information, you can contact CHES. There's our number and our email address. You can check us out on social media. We have a presence in LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So you can check out our programs and what's coming up at CHES in the future. So thank you to the MAV for allowing us this opportunity to talk about the CHES school and get the information out there to Victorian students, parents and teachers.
Thank you, Georgia and James. I have a few questions for both of you, but I'm wondering, Daniela, do you have any questions before I jump in?
I have a few too. I was just going to ask, how do you get into CHES? So what are the prerequisites to study at your wonderful school?
Well, you have to be identified as a high ability student in your school, and you have to have a recommendation from your school principal. The application forms are on our site and they have to be endorsed by your school principal, and then you submit them by the due date, which I believe is the 30th of August for VC. I could be wrong, but around that time, and then applications are collected by CHES, and students are informed if they're a successful student, if they're successfully enrolled for the future year. Yeah.
And can you apply for more than one subject?
You can. There are students that do more than one VCE subject at CHES. If you do that, you have to be aware that the lessons run after school, and doing that multiple nights a week might not be very convenient for the rest of your life, but it is possible.
I also wanted to ask one more question. Algorithmics, you mentioned is HESS as a scored subject, so it goes towards university credits. I'm assuming the other HES subjects are the same, or am I wrong?
No, they're different. The HESS, which is what algorithmics is, gets, if it's in your top 4, it gets added to your ATAR score, as well as getting a university credit, whereas the HES subjects offered by the universities, you get 10% of that score added to your ATAR. So it only contributes a 10% maximum. But you do get the university credit if you go and study at that university once you leave school.
So, Georgia, is that an additional 10%?
10% of your score that you get. Yes, it's
Yep.
treated like a 5th and a 6th subject in VCE. You know how you get the top 4 get into your ATAR, and the 5th and 6th, you take 10%. The HES subject is treated as a 5th and 6th
Cool.
VCE subject. Whereas algorithmics can get into your top 4. It's not counted as a mathematics subject, so you can do 2 maths and algorithmics and English, and that would be counted, although if you got really good scores, they would all be counted in your top 4. So we have students that are doing that. They do math methods, specialist maths, and algorithmics. It's a nice way to for them that are really interested in the computational thinking to embrace all those maths and algorithmics.
Jen, over to you.
Thank you. I have had the pleasure of having a tour of your beautiful building and seeing it in action, not just the beautiful beauty of the building, but also lessons in action, and the high flex lessons are something to be observed, because doing hybrid is really, really challenging. And I think it's fabulous the way you've been able to accommodate students in that manner. I just had a question about the full day seminar that you have when students come into the centre. Can you just expand a little bit on, I'm assuming you've got kids coming from regional areas. I know you have kids just around the corner from Prahran High School. What's the vibe like on that day? Either of you.
I can speak that a little bit. The vibe is very energetic and very positive. So you're right to say that we have students coming in from all over. And I'll refer to a recent day that we had, and I've got students who are located in Warrnambool. I've got about 11 there, and my colleague has a small handful there as well at different schools. And so some of those students came to Melbourne the night before and stayed in the city so they could wake up fresh to come to CHES the next day. Students living more locally have a bit easier. Student from Shepparton came down the morning of to attend CHES for that seminar day. So each student has their own circumstances, but certainly for students who live in regional areas, there is there is a way to have part of your travel reimbursed. There are some forms to fill in, and there's a process there, but certainly we try to best accommodate students from the regions to come to us and to help that process. And throughout the day, certainly we try to get kids quite active and engaged for the whole time they're here, because it is quite a precious time that we have with them. So we typically start those days at 9:30 because we recognise that students are coming from all over, and train delays do happen. So we do allow sort of that half-hour stagger in the morning to start at 9:30, and likewise finish at 3 so kids can get home before it's dark. But certainly throughout the whole day, we do run activities where the kids are working collaboratively and also in meaningful tasks.
Awesome. It must be wonderful for those regional kids to get an idea of the city, and hopefully they're engaging in tertiary education and off to university. So that's a wonderful opportunity for them.
And I think I read in one of George's slides that that's a once a term activity. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Fantastic.
we're really inclusive. So it's not just regional kids. Like we have, if we cater for all abilities. So if you need extra help with your transport, getting to the seminar day, other than, financial help, which we do offer as well for students who are far away from CHES, we also assist students with various abilities to attend as well. So we want to make it a fully inclusive day wherever possible.
Excellent. I know you've spoken about students who are able to do the investigations, units 3 and 4 as well. Are there any other subjects? So we've sort of covered the maths subjects. What other subjects are students able to do at CHES?
They're able to do English language. That's covered from units 1 to 4, so year 11 and 12. We have specialist maths year 11 and 12. Algorithmics is only a year 12 subject, as is extended investigation. It's only a year 12 subject. We offer year 10 electives as well for younger students. And of course, our HES offerings are through the universities. So I guess we're quite a new school, but we do offer quite a few programs.
Great.
And if a student was to do 2 of the subjects, I'm assuming if they do algorithmics and specialist maths, they're not scheduled at the same time after school.
Correct. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
on different days. So yes.
And the timetabling, obviously there will be some clashes with their school, because if they do have some afternoon sessions you mentioned. But when do the students get the timetable so they can kind of have a look and make some plans around that?
The timetables are released at the beginning of the year. During our orientation at the end of the year for the following year, we do try to set some dates, but some days for the lessons, but they don't always work out. And usually the beginning of the year is the best time to finalise those dates, those after school lesson days. So they would find out very soon.
If I could just add a comment there. So with the weekly classes or weekly tutorials, in a sort of a similar fashion to university, that there is flexibility in terms of when students can have their tutorial, their regular tutorial it is. So for example, with Unit 1, 2 Specialist Mathematics, there's myself, Georgia, and our colleague Robin, the 3 of us who are teaching that subject. And so if the students, let's say they have no availability on the Monday, then they can attend a tutorial with either one of us throughout the week. And we have quite a variety of classes throughout the week as well. But yeah, normally they would sort of try to find a regular timetable class at the beginning of the year. And then of course, life happens and school happens. Sometimes they are unable to attend that particular lesson for that day. So they can make an adjustment for that week, where they can attend an alternative session for the week.
That's great.
Our school also caters for timetables that are fortnightly. So we appreciate that some schools run on a fortnightly timetable. So the tutorials may be at a different day in each week. So we do cater for that.
Excellent.
Well, unless there's any other questions from you, Daniela?
Nothing more from me. Thanks.
No worries. I would like to say a big thank you to James and to Georgia. We'll get all of those links so we can pop them in line for anyone who's interested. And I would highly recommend having a visit. It was great. I hope that maybe on one of your seminar days we can pop out again and see it all in action, because that was super cool to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.